Kurtz,
Here.
Hayward,
Yes.
Hill,
Yes.
Scharf,
Here.
O'Loughlin,
Yes.
Hannah.
yes,
Thank you. Next is approval of the agenda as presented.
So moved.
Motion by Scharf, seconded by
Second.
Kurtz. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
aye,
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. There was no one that signed in to the public forum. So, next is motion to accept and approve the consent agenda that approves the following: the minutes of the December 10th, 2018 regular meeting, airport seasonal labor job description, Casey's General Store number 2169, Class B native wine, Class C beer, Class E liquor license, and Sunday sales January 30th, 2019 through January 29th, 2020.
So moved.
Motion by Scharf,
Second.
second by O'Loughlin. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
aye,
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. Next is an approval of the claims for payment.
So moved.
Motion by Hill,
Yes.
Second.
second by Scharf. Any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
aye,
Thank you. Motion carried. Next is under resolutions. I had several meetings for planning and zoning this year. First one is, this is the interesting one because it's set up so that one person has 5 years, one has 4, one has 3, 2 have 2, and 2 have 1. So they come open at different variables, so. First one is a motion to approve a resolution appointing John Hoagland to a 3-year term on the Planning and Zoning Commission.
So moved.
Motion by Hill,
Second.
second by O'Loughlin. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oh, roll call on it? Sorry, we need a roll call.
Kurtz,
Yes.
Hayward,
Yes.
Hill,
Yes.
Scharf,
Yes.
O'Loughlin,
Yes.
Hannah,
yes,
Vaughn.
Yes.
Thank you, motion is carried. The next one is a new person, Stephanie Burns. A motion to approve a resolution appointing Stephanie Burns to a 1-year term on the Planning and Zoning Commission.
So moved.
Motion by Scharf,
Second.
second by Hayward. Roll call.
Mayor, I had a question on that. To be on the planning and zoning, do you have to be a city resident?
Yes,
Are they in the city limits?
yes.
They are out there.
They're in the new housing area of,
I know where they live. I just don't
Oh.
know if that was still in the city limits.
Olds Edition?
They move?
Where Stephanie Burns lives is in city limits, up on,
Oh, I was
trying to
thinking
think
she
of
was
the
at
street
Lowe's.
I
name.
thought they were up by the county home road.
Straight north of Mr. Gissel's shop.
And Bachman's Annex out there?
It'd be to the west of that,
Okay.
but,
And that's still,
yes.
okay. That was just my only question.
Okay. Thank you for checking.
Hayward,
Yes.
Hill,
Yes.
Scharf,
Yes.
O'Loughlin,
Yes.
Hannah,
yes,
Vaughn,
Yes.
Kurtz.
Yes.
Thank you, motion carried. Next one is a motion to approve a resolution reappointing Janet Bowles to a 1-year term on the Planning and Zoning Commission.
So moved.
Motion by Scharf,
Second.
second by Hill. Roll call, please.
Hill,
Yes.
Scharf,
Yes.
O'Loughlin,
Yes.
Hannah,
yes,
Vaughn,
Yes.
Kurtz,
Yes.
Hayward.
Yes.
Thank you, motion carried. When I was going through this process, Amber Hunt had been appointed last year for a 2-year term and had not made it to any of the meetings, so she asked to be taken off. And so I have a motion to approve a resolution appointing Doug Cook to fill her last year of her slot for, it's a 2-year term, but he'll have just a 1-year time for the Planning and Zoning Commission.
So moved.
Motion by
Second.
Kurtz, second by O'Loughlin. Roll call, please.
Scharf,
Yes.
O'Loughlin,
Yes.
Hannah,
Yes.
Vaughn,
Yes.
Kurtz,
Yes.
Hayward,
Yes.
Hill,
Yes.
Thank you, motion carried. And the last one was open, motion to approve a resolution appointing Larry Karsten, reappointing him to a 5-year term on the Planning and Zoning Commission.
So moved.
Motion by Scharf,
Second.
second by Hayward. Roll call, please.
O'Loughlin,
Yes.
Hannah,
Yes.
Vaughn,
Yes.
Kurtz,
Yes.
Hayward,
Yes.
Hill,
Yes.
Scharf,
Yes.
Thank you, motion carried. Then there was one opening on the Board of Adjustments, which, a motion to approve a resolution reappointing Lloyd Davis to a 3-year term on the Board of Adjustments.
So moved.
Motion by Hill,
Second.
second by Scharf. Roll call, please.
Hannah,
Yes.
Vaughn,
Yes.
Kurtz,
Yes.
Hayward,
Yes.
Hill,
Yes.
Scharf,
Yes.
O'Loughlin,
Yes.
Thank you, motion carried. Is Dan Kimball here? Oh, okay. Under new business, AECom supplemental agreement number 4. This supplement agreement is for the additional work creating the voluntary assessment documentation required, as well as the design and engineering work for replacing lead surface lines downtown for the First Street East project. And Dan Kimball is here if you had any questions for him.
I think Mr. Kimball would like to give you an update on where we're at with the project as well. So,
Yeah, that was kind of the main point, I guess, and being here. The project's been submitted to the DOT. We haven't received any comments, so everything's on track for the February 20th bid opening. Plans should be going out here by usually around the 3rd week in January is when they'll be going out for bids. And at this time, like I said, we have no questions or comments from the DOT. We've kind of worked back and forth with them. I'm not sure if Al kind of shared the good news with you on the funding for the DOT. They're going to fully fund that stretch of 150, so they're going to fund above and beyond the initial estimate that they had provided. So that's nice through that area. We have received pretty good enrollment, I guess you'd say, for the water services through the downtown area. I believe we're up to 21 services, so almost half of what we sent out. So really good response. And we've kind of got those put together, and we'll be getting those put into the plans here before those go out to bids. So it won't be a change order or anything like that. Those will be in the plans when the contractors go out for bids.
Was there a deadline for that, or when can they indicate they wanted to? Is there?
yeah, the deadline is passed, but we continue to take them in, those that have contacted us as best we can.
Yeah, I mean, once, even when it goes out for bids, we still have, given that there's already 20 of them, if we add 1 or 2 to it, we can do an addendum why it's still out for bids. So realistically, we'll have up until the 18th, maybe of February. I mean, if we kept getting them, that we could get it in and have the contractors bid on it without, having to do a additional or anything like that.
Well, if we got 10 or 12 more, that might cheapen up the per unit price, wouldn't it?
It might, yeah, it's very possible that could happen. And, if we get good bids, and let's say during construction, although, that might run into the assessment schedule, we'd have to get those in there. If there was additional, we could try to work those in as well. It's just kind of an overage, so if they came in at $30 a linear foot, if you add 50 feet to it, it would just be that $30 over over that 50 feet. They wouldn't be able to renegotiate the price for, 1 or 2 extra services.
Would it be in our best interest to maybe contact the ones that have not accepted it yet and have them sign a formal decline so they're not coming back at us and saying, well, we didn't know we had to have it in already?
We can reach back out to them.
Might make them make their mind up.
Right. The real challenge we have is with the voluntary assessment. It's voluntary. If we don't replace the line, there's no assessment, obviously. But in order to put it on their property taxes versus writing us a check within 30 days, if you will, it has to be, we're running out of days. On the January 14th council meeting, you're going to start that process. Dan has to have a schedule and plat to us for that meeting for you to set the hearing on. So really, we're down to the 11th hour on that. So, I mean, as far as the assessment goes. As
And-
far as
and
the
that's
work
what we're-
goes, we have much more time.
Yeah,
We have-
the assessment, that's part of this supplemental agreement is putting together those assessments for those 21 property owners that we have now, as well as the inspection, the additional inspection time that it's gonna take, because we're gonna have to go into all these properties, during the inspection. We've actually started those plats, this week. I'm hoping to have them, to the city next week, so they can continue with that assessment process. And we'll get that done, before construction, to make sure that we follow the assessment guidelines, the requirements that we need to do that.
So since we're doing assessment, if I wanted to write a check, say come March, and I said, oh geez, I might as well go ahead and do it, could I write a check to the city to have it done?
Absolutely. With the special assessment, we're really doing that for the benefit of the property owners as an added benefit to them. They can pay it off at the end of the anytime before the end of the project, once we know the costs. We are required to give them a 30-day bill, if you will. Give them an invoice, and they have 30 days to pay it. If they don't pay it, then it gets put onto their taxes if that's what they wish. But at the end of the project, so it's not even March, they would have until October, because that's when the project will be done, I hope.
November. I mean, realistically, you could still be working on it right now. I mean, it's 45 degrees out there.
So at the end of the project, when we get the final bill, that's when we send it to the property owners, and they have another 30 days from that point to pay it in full or have it assessed. So there's really a broad window in there.
But is that true for the ones that have not signed a paper agreeing to be assessed, or just those 21 that have?
Well, again, we would send them a bill at the end of the project that, you have 30 days to pay it. The difference is they don't have the option of having it put onto their taxes. They would have to write the check at that point.
Okay.
So we can still do it if they don't respond or they don't want to do the assessment. And of the 21 that you're talking about, I think there's another handful that have responded saying, no, I've already done mine. So I think that number gets a little bit higher with those that have acknowledged that they've already updated their water lines, which is a good thing.
One of the other comments I guess I had for our ADA requirements, I know kind of the current layout now is for the curb drops. They have the detectable warnings, they're called, which are at the end with kind of the raised holes or they call them truncated domes for visually impaired, so they can see those. The way they are now is they're red with just a 6-inch band of normal concrete coloring around it. Those don't meet the current ADA requirements. There's not enough contrast between the red and then only that little 6-inch band of plain concrete and then the additional red. So what we've done typically, if we're putting everything back as red, so we can't go back with that red detectable warning, we would recommend black, and that's what we currently have in there. There's not very many standard colors that those detectable warnings come in. There's a yellow, I believe there's a gray, and then there's kind of 2 shades of red, and then there's the black, which is what we currently have in there, which would meet the offset requirements for the colors. The only other way to get by that would be essentially the whole ramp itself would have to be normal colored concrete with just the red detectable warning, which doesn't really fit with the landscape that's out there, which is why we went with the black detectable warnings. Now, I know on some of the side streets, we don't have that, we don't have the black, but at least all the way along the First Street corridor, we're replacing all of those curb drops so they would all match along the main corridor.
How does the black hold up color-wise, color fastness?
They hold up just as well as the other ones. They hold up pretty well.
That would be a second colored concrete that would go in there then.
It's not really a color. They actually come in panels, and they're actually set into the concrete. So they'll come as the 2x4 panels, and then they cut them to fit, if they need to angle them or something like that. But they'll come black, and they're just a couple inches thick, and they actually just set it into the concrete.
Okay, so it isn't like we're painting on top of the concrete?
No, they come pre-colored.
Right.
They would be pre-colored. And that's what's out there now. They would be just what's out there now. They'd just be black instead of red to get that contrasting color.
Right.
So it's not as expensive as, I know when we did the color concrete, they said it was more expensive because they had to mix it when we poured.
I mean, the colored concrete is more expensive than regular concrete, but as far as the truncated domes, black is a standard color, so that's not going to be any more expensive than the red or the yellow, or as long as it's a standard color for those pieces.
And we're not even mixing concrete for that, we're just. drawing-
Those will just be set into the colored concrete that will actually be poured.
Yeah,
So yeah, we do have colored concrete out there to match the streetscape that's out there now. Are there any questions on the progress or on the plans themselves or anything that?
next year at this time, we'll have questions, I'm sure.
Hopefully next year at this time it's all open and
We're
there won't be any
celebrating.
questions. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we should be, bids will come in February, so we should be ready to start at the end of March, early April, as soon as we can get in there. And the way the weather is so far this year, it's not looking like we're gonna be waiting for 3 feet of frost to come out of the ground. But
Right.
things can always change in January and February.
Could be our big Christmas present next year. It'll all be done on time, no problem.
I would like that because it helps us too, because we always, this is how long we're expecting it, when we do our inspection. So obviously we want it to be done as soon as possible as well.
Now, when they pour that, do they do like a county bridge does? They take slump samples and,
Yeah. It'll be, since it's it kind of going through the DOT process, it'll have to follow all the DOT standards. So there's actually
I'll have a DOT tech here to do that with a,
well, we'll do it, but we're certified from the DOT to do the testing and everything like that. And then they'll actually have to do cores, pavement cores, to make sure that they met the thickness. And there's an incentive for that if they meet at least 9 inches or more, which is what we call 10 inches or more, which is what we call out. They'll get a bonus to do that. So typically it comes in at 10 and a half, 11 inches a lot of times. Then they also have a smoothness incentive where they run a profilometer on the final product to make sure it's smooth and meets DOT specifications there. So this is a DOT specification project, so it'll follow all the DOT standard specs except for where we have some supplementals for like the colored concrete and things like that, where we had to incorporate our own specs into the project plans. So I guess that gets us back to the supplemental. As Al said, it's kind of has additional work on there for the water mains and the services and kind of the coordination of putting that together and work with the city and sending all that out, as well as the additional inspection work to go out there and do the inspections and create the plats. So that's what the supplemental, it's for $24,100. That includes the design and inspection time, and then as well as creating the plats.
Okay. Do I have a motion?
I would make that motion.
Motion from Hayward,
second.
second by O'Laughlin. You want a roll call on this?
Yes, please. Vaughn,
Yes.
Hertz,
Yes.
Hayward,
Yes.
Hill,
Yes,
Scharf,
Yes.
McLaughlin,
Yes.
Hannah.
Yes.
Thank you, motion carried. Thank you for being here.
Thanks, Dan.
Drop these off. I can come back and pick them up, or there's just 2 copies. If you want to sign them, you can take them with me, or I can come pick them up.
Excuse me.
And yeah, we'll get the plan into the board's assessment class next week, so then we can make sure that they have the information that's required.
So we're keeping one of these?
Yep, you can
Okay.
keep that one and there's a folder if you'd like to keep it in there. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you. you get this one that we're keeping? Okay. Oh, you get them all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next on the agenda is the IDOT temporary easement agreement. This is to install a new culvert and drainage on Highway 150 south, just south of 150 Bridge on the east side. The attached map shows the area of the temporary easement. The IDOT is offering $2,400 payment for the easement. Construction is not expected to happen until late 2019 or early 2020.
Is this just to replace an existing culvert, or?
Yes, it's to improve their drainage, but they have to put a new tube in from roughly Office Town down to the river. And there's a-
Larger, maybe a larger culvert, would that be?
You know, I won't say that, you know, the size, I haven't seen the plans. What they're working on right now is the easement for that. Because we own the property where the former wood duck was.
Sure.
There's actually 2 parcels in there that this crosses from the cities. Now, there's other private parties as well, but our section through that right-of-way is affected. So they do put the culvert in, and then there's a 5-year performance warranty. So if there was something that went wrong or settling or things that weren't right, they would come back in and fix that as well. But in order to move this forward, they have to have construction easements or temporary easements because they would be encroaching on city property to get the project put in.
Is this going to be part of their resurfacing out there?
No, while they are similar in nature, they are 2 separate projects. The resurfacing that happens next year, they're paving the shoulders as part of the safety program, and then I believe doing an overlay from the campground south to Enterprise Drive.
Have they indicated when they might do that next summer?
No, I don't have any timing on that at all. And again, I did mention that to this individual, but he wasn't aware of it at the time that we met. So they are different branches, different arms of the DOT, and you know, different purposes.
I don't mean to be nitpicky, but I'm gonna be. And on the map, down at the bottom, it says Hazelton Township, T90N R9W, Section 34. The map is of the right place, but that is not where that is located. And I don't
Down below.
I don't want
there.
the crew going to Hazelton Township looking for where to put a culvert in.
Well, if you look at the temporary easement and the description that's in there, that is the official document. The map that he included in there was really for our ease, if you will. So I understand what you're saying.
Like I said, that's being really nitpicky, I know.
The issue that we have on the map is actually the west side of Highway 150 is a parcel that crosses Highway 150. And so a corner of this area is in the parcel that's on the west side of the highway. That's why there's 2 parcels. But yes, I understand what you're saying. The official document does not have that in there.
Okay.
So this culvert will go underneath the highway and?
No, it's all on the east side, but it touches 2 different parcels that the city owns. And so they have to have the easement for both parcels. And it comes to almost a quarter of an acre. They used the value of the land that the city used to acquire the property. They rounded it up, and I think the total cost of the property was $96,000 and change. He rounded it up to $100,000, divided out the cost per square foot. It came out to 0.24 acres, and that's how he came up with the 2,400.
So we're having to pay an easement fee for our own property?
He's
No.
paying us.
We're getting paid.
The DOT's paying
He's
us.
paying us $2,400 for the right to use our property while they put their culvert in their ditch.
Is this the program, the safety program, where that's another project?
That's what's paving the shoulders next summer.
I thought they were filling in ditches as part of that.
That's coming later.
Okay.
That's a third aspect of this project, which makes it even more confusing. That's why I didn't bring it
Okay.
up here.
I'm still confused. Is the DOT paying for this project, or are we paying for the
The
project?
DOT is paying for the project.
For the drainage
They're-
project?
They will contract the work out. The bid letting is set for, I think he was targeting November of 19 bid letting. He's acquiring right-of-way from all the people that are involved. They're doing several of these projects around northeast Iowa.
Okay.
We're one of, and I can't remember, multiple projects that they're doing. But they will, they have to acquire our right-of-way easement because they'll be encroaching on city property as part of the project. They'll put the culvert in, they'll put it all back. Again, they're gonna pay us $2,400 to use our property for the duration of the project. Separate from the paving of the shoulders that's happening next summer, totally unrelated. And then the filling in those ditches, at some point, there's a safety project that we're talking about, filling them in, putting curb and gutter on that stretch of road where they have some of the steeper ditches. That is a third and separate project, and that's probably tied to our reconstruction of Highway 150 through town when we get to that point. And
What does this culvert accomplish?
it improves drainage through there. I don't
It's
know if
not
the-
replacing anything, it's putting in culvert, right?
Well, I think there's a pipe in there that they are replacing, if I understood them right, but there's a ditch in there that's eroding, they're having more and more erosion issues, and they want to fix that.
And this is all in that same area, south of the bridge, 150 Bridge, and stretching out to down by Casey's or in that area for these three, between these three projects.
No, this one will actually start at the drive, roughly at the driveway into
Office Town?
Campground?
the appliance store.
Oh, okay.
So it's just south of Office Town and stretched down to the river.
Okay.
Is it legal for people to walk on the shoulder to get to the trail to? So that they can use our trail south or
Walk on the shoulder.
come across the bridge, get on the shoulder and walk to the,
That would be a DOT issue, so I don't know that I'd try and venture into that. I mean, as far as the legality
Yeah,
goes. Our trail does come across a bridge and then it winds up closer to the businesses,
right.
you know, away from the right of way. So I suppose if they're trying to take a shortcut across there, I haven't seen that, but
There's a trail from the bridge south all the way.
oh, absolutely. Yeah, there's a nice trail through
So
there, but if
they
they're,
choose to walk on the shoulder, I guess that's their deal.
yeah, and, but again, as far as the legality, I'd probably want to look into that. I wouldn't venture into that.
Sure.
Well, as long as we're not paying, we're getting paid, I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, motion by Hill, second by Laughlin to approve the temporary easement agreement for ID. Roll call?
Kurtz,
Yes.
Hayward,
Yes,
Hill,
Yes,
Sharp,
Yes.
O'Laughlin,
Yes.
Hannah,
yes,
Vaughn,
yes.
Thank you, motion is carried. Now we're down to whether we need a possible closed session.
We
That
do,
is up to council.
yeah, we do have a purchase agreement for your consideration. I did put a closed session on the agenda if the council has a desire to go into closed session before taking possible action on the purchase agreement that's in front of you. But that would, I don't have a burning desire or an evident need for it on my behalf to go into a closed session. So it'll be up to the council. Do you want to go into session for that? City attorney is recommending that we enter into a closed session to cover the purchase agreement and some of the thought behind it briefly so that you're,
Very briefly.
Okay.
Shouldn't take very long, should it?
this should be very brief.
So do I need a motion to go into closed session first?
So move.
Motion by Hayward,